This is the ATN X Sight 2 HD. Now I have to admit, I've never used the ATN X Sight 1, so it's not going to be a comparison video, but I am going to show you some of the features on this cracking day and night digital scope. In the box you get a green bag, the scope itself, a sunshade, a brightness reducer and an IR torch. With 4 AA batteries in the scope, it weighs 1.1 kilos. The scope itself is 28 centimeters in length, and at its widest point it's 8 centimeters. And the sunshade and reducer, should you fit them, would add another 7 centimeters onto your scope. The main body of the X Sight is an extremely sturdy metal construction, and the buttons are rubberized and protected for damp environments. And that damp environment protection goes all the way through the build quality, because everywhere that you can get access to has O-rings to seal any moisture out. This set of ports here not only gives you access to external power and USB, you've got a micro SD card slot up to 64 gig, and you've also got a mini HDMI out port. The scope I have here has a zoom power to 14, and to tidy up, it's got the parallax wheel on the top, which is quite stiff to turn, but you only need the slightest of adjustment to bring everything into focus. And for the end where your eye goes, you can also focus here as well. On the bottom, you mount it to your rifle using the Picatinny system, and these are spring loaded. On the left hand side, you've got an extra Picatinny rail for adding your toys. And to finish with, you've got a nice rubberized cap that protects your front lens. Putting the scope onto the gun is very easy. Now I have found that with the eye relief, it's better to have your eye as close as you can up to the rubber area here. You don't need to push in, but just up to the rubber area here. So it's really easy to set, because I know my big head is going to come to about there. If you wanted to be doubly sure, you can always give these a tweak with a spanner, should you wish. When you first turn the X Sight on, this is what you'll see. Top left hand corner is a little flag with the last distance measured. On the left hand side, you've got a spinning gauge which tells you how much you're canting the gun by. You've also got an actual digital readout below that. On the right hand side, you've got where you're zoomed into. I'm on 3 at the moment. The scope's got a power of 14, but I'm only on 3. Below that, you've got a gauge which tells you how much you're tipping the gun up and down by. And in the bottom right hand corner, you've got a clock, which is going to tell you how late you are to be home for the wife and kids. And at the very top, you've got a compass, which is telling you which direction you're pointing in. I'm indoors today shooting out of the hut, so that doesn't work so well. But in the field, it's fine. Let's go ahead and zero the scope. First of all, I need to find out what range I'm zeroing at. And I'm going to use the rangefinder built in. And I'm going to select it on the menu. In we go. Now I know Ducky Duck, who you can see on the screen there, is 40 centimeters high. And I've already put that in the settings there. There are some preloaded settings. You can change those if you want. But I know Ducky Duck is 40 centimeters high. So I'm going to put the marker on the top. And the marker on the bottom. And that tells me that Ducky Duck is at 24.1 meters. Now, I'm going to exit out of that. I'm going to go back into the menu. and I'm going to select profiles and 0 and then current. And I've got all my data in down here already except for my 0 range, which I'm going to change to 24.1. Okay, then we're going to go back up and select 0 reticule. Now, as you can see, my crosshairs has changed slightly. I'm going to go down and line it up. And you can see where the shot has gone. It's gone just there, just below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it in its original placement, bring it down, and then across, but I'm going to go back a little bit. Get that lined up absolutely right. And hit enter. And then I'm going to save and exit. And then I'm going to come back out of that function. And I'm going to shoot again. There we go. Now, I'm doing this obviously looking in a strange direction at the television. So you have to allow me a little bit of leeway, but you can see just how easy it is to zero your scope using this function. I'm going to show you the Ballistic Calculator on the X Sight. Ballistic Calculator can be turned on just here, just there, like that. Now, we know that this target from before is 24 meters out. There you go. And I want to hit the tin at the end of the range, which is 50 meters away. There we go. And if I take a shot at that, it's just going to clatter on the box below. Now, because I've used my rangefinder before, I know that that is 50 meters away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to enter 50 meters. And if you saw, the reticule moved. It is adjusted. It has also adjusted for about half a meter of wind as well. But let's give this a go. There we go. So just by using the rangefinder and putting the distance entry in, you're able to calculate your shot. There you go. How cool is that? Now, obviously, when you zoom in, just a little bit, perhaps a little bit too much, the scope is going to keep its point of aim on the reticule. There we go. As you can see, when you do zoom in, you are zooming in on a digital image. So it can pixelate a little bit, but it is still incredibly clear. There are other functions, of course, within the scope. You can go in, you can select night vision, which we'll come back to in a minute. You can change how you capture your images. So, for example, under photo and video, you can have single photos, multiple burst counts, you can do time lapse, you can turn the microphone on and off. You can change it from 1080p at 30 frames per second to 720 at 60 frames per second. You can format the SD card, and you can also use what's called recoil activated video. So when you pull the trigger, the gun is going to either record to the SD card before and after. And again, you can change those settings should you wish. Under display, you can change screen brightness, widgets, language. Reticule style is the one that people like to play with. So you can go in and you can change your reticule style. You can also change the color. And when you do all this, it obviously keeps your point of zero. Going back up to the zero function, which we have seen before. Obviously we've got our current, but you can save and create profiles for the different rifles or ammunition that you're using. And then under settings, you can change the units, metric, date and time. You can activate your Wi-Fi on and off, your geo-tagging on and off. But something that is very important is you must make sure that you select the right item under device type. Otherwise, things like your ballistic calculator won't work. Under zoom, I've got standard. However, you can change that to extended. If you do change it to extended, I have found sometimes that maybe the point of aim under zoom isn't quite as accurate as on standard, but there you go. You come back through the menu, and like I say, we will come to night vision in a moment. In the menu then, you can change your environment. Now this also makes a difference in your ballistic calculations. So you can put your humidity in, you can change that if you wish. You can put your wind speed in. Now if I put my wind speed in and change that to 5 meters per second and accept that and then come back out, and then I take a shot again at my tin, which is now laid down, the pellet's going to go nowhere near it because it's actually allowing for that wind speed that you've just entered in. So if I go over here somewhere, I can just see it now. All right, we'll try that again because I had to put some more pellets in the gun. If I shoot just over here, nearly, but you can see that putting that in has created windage. There you go, and I'm not going to get it, but if I go back into my environment and put my wind speed back, there you go. You can see that you put your wind speed back, I think it's dropping just over the tin. There it is. It's just the way the tin is laid down, I think. There we go. But that wind speed is clearly critical. There we go. That wind speed is critical. If you have it set wrong, your shot's going to go all over the place. Okay, let's go in and turn the Wi-Fi on. The scope has Wi-Fi built in, and the app is called Obsidian, if I'm saying that right. So in we go, you connect your device, and we're in. Now, you can do everything on here that you can on the scope direct. And actually for me, I find it a bit easier. You can change all your settings, literally everything. Your environment, it's all there. You can't seem to turn off and on your ballistic calculator and that sort of thing, but when I say settings, I mean, you know, the settings that you would really want to change. You go into profiles, and you can even zero your reticule within the profile. There we go. There's Ducky Duck. You can put all your ballistic information in there as well, and then you would just apply it in the top corner. So as long as you can touch it on the screen, you can pretty much change it. Viewfinder, so you want to have a look. Gallery, you don't want to go into your photos, so let's go back, but you can, if you want to choose photos, do that. But let's go into Viewfinder. Now, with the Viewfinder, obviously you can stream what you're seeing to your mates. So if you're doing a bit of rat blasting, just a few feet away your mates can be sat and they can see exactly what you're doing. There is one thing though, if you are recording your footage onto the SD card, you cannot record and stream the footage at the same time. This isn't something which is just native to the scope. High-end DSLR cameras can't do it either. So it's not a function that you're being cheated out of. It is a fairly standard thing within the photographic world. So it's either stream or record. Now I'm going to show you what the scope is capable of at night. With any night vision, you need a good IR illuminator. In the box, you get this one. This comes with the scope. I would treat it as a freebie. ATN don't shout about it being there, and I would treat it as such. Get rid of it. It's not going to help you out. Buy yourself a decent one. These images are taken on a dark night. The rabbits are at about 50 yards. I'm scanning around a hillside and I'm picking them out really nice and easily. I am using a quality IR light, the Evo 38. I bought it from torchfactory.co.uk. It cost me around £55, but it did include the batteries and charger as well. And I focused it out to flood the field of vision. The bunnies don't even know I'm there. The scope has a great low light tolerance without IR boosting. You can almost use it in the moonlight. This is the same hillside around 40 minutes earlier at sunset. I managed to get very up close and personal with these two. Clearly, being a large fat man has not harmed my stealthy capabilities. Now I'm going to show you something quickly which happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I like my drones. I like making drone videos, and I was down on the south coast filming what I regard as a nice area. And I always travel with bits of kit with me, and I had the ATN X Sight unmounted in the boot of the car. And I thought, well, it's got dark, let's have a walk round and see what I can see. And I'm stood in a public car park, I take the sight out and I'm freehanding it, and I just had a wave round to see what I could see. And at over 150 yards away, I'm not picking out eye shine, I'm picking out form. You can actually see just a glimpse of the rabbits moving across the hillside, and that's at least 150 yards away. As with any mobile device, it needs power, and the X Sight likes its power. It eats power. Now, it has a slot there for AA batteries. I've managed to get around an hour's runtime out of a set of 4 AA batteries. That is just looking through the scope. That isn't recording, that isn't pressing the buttons, zeroing or anything like that. That's just looking through the scope. If you do start zeroing using AA batteries or recording, you're going to get just a few minutes. And I mean literally just a few minutes. There is a guide that comes in the box that talks about battery run time. Just get rid of it because there's no point reading it. My biggest suggestion to you is, if you're going to get one, don't waste money on batteries, get an external power pack. And again, there are details in the box of how you can do that. I've used the X Sight in quite a few of my videos now. I've used it in the Daystate Pulsar video. I've used it in the Weihrauch 110 video. I've used it in the FX Impact video. I've used it to test targets with. It's because it is just so simple to use. You're not in that funny firing position where you're sort of sitting back and your head's not on the stock. You're looking through the scope as you should do. And you've got the one touch button record, which enables you to capture what you want to share. This bit is super important. You can ignore me for the rest of the video if you want, but if you buy one of these, you have to do this bit. And it's called update your firmware. Now, this has a super clever computer inside that learns and does all sorts of things. But if you don't keep it up to date, it won't work for you correctly. So do what it says in the box, update your firmware. You do it using your micro SD card, and the instructions on the website make it very clear and easy to do. When you buy something like this, it's always good to have some backup. ATN have thought of that as well. Online, there's an owners club. It's on Facebook, but you can ask all the questions you want on there, and there are many people out there that can help you and give you answers. There's also an ATN forum. Again, you can go on there, see what other people are talking about and learn some things about the scope as well. So what are my final thoughts on the ATN X Sight 2? It's a cracking bit of kit. I've only learned really how to use the Ballistic Calculator in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I tell you what, it's a little bit of a game changer because it sort of does all the work for you, which is really, really cool. You can also share with your mates what you're shooting. So if you're out during the day or during the night, they can see exactly what you're doing. And if you capture the footage, you can share it across the internet in seconds. It goes on the gun, it stays on the gun, and it's good for day or night and all weathers. And I can strongly recommend it to you.